Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Sign. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava सदस्य मान भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, रामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गौ गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, नवद्वीप धाम की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय, गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu Adwaita.
Hare Krishna, Jai.
My humble obeisances. You are welcome to our platform. Your camera is off. Okay,
Yes,
nice. Okay.
already done.
Yeah. My humble obeisances. You are welcome to our platform.
Yes,
Hope more people will still join us. We proceed. You're welcome. I can put the verse on the board. When people come, we can introduce you.
okay. Oh, Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Okay, so we're ready to go?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So you will do the moderating or the you know what you call putting it right on the video, right? I'm just going to speak.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So you know I'm a little bit slow on these screen things. So all right.
Uh-huh.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada. You can start.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so thank you very much for requesting me to give this talk on Srimad Bhagavatam for Hare Krishna Africa. And today's verse, interestingly, I looked it up yesterday, and it's Atmarama verse, talking about the Atmarama verse on Srimad Bhagavatam, the actual chapter being the son of Drona punished, chapter 7 of the first canto. So this is a huge topic. We will speak on a few items of this topic. It's very interesting. So please let's start the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nasta Preshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki Grantaraja Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. So I will just read the verse. I don't think we're going to be repeating it together. Suta Uvacha Atmaramascha Munnayo Nigrantha Piurukrame Kurvanti Ahitukim Bhaktim Itam Bhuto Guno Hari. Suta Uvacha Atmaramascha Munnayo Nigrantha Api Urukrume Kurvanti Ahitukim Bhaktim Itam Bhuto Guno Hari. Word meaning. Suta Uvacha, Suta Goswami said, Atmaramaha, those who take pleasure in Atma, generally spirit self. Cha, also. Munnayaha, sages. Nirgrantha, freed from all bondage. Api, in spite of. Urukrame, unto the great adventurer. Kurvanti, do. Ahaitukim, unalloyed. Bhaktim, devotional service. Itam Bhuta, such wonderful guna, qualities. Harihi, of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Adwaita, please unmute yourself, please. Adwaita Prabhu. Prabhu, please unmute your speaker. Yes, yes.
Am I all right now? Everyone can hear?
Yes, yes. It's okay now. Thank you.
Should I restart?
Yes, go on, please.
Inside,
Okay.
no space here.
Let me reread the translation of the verse.
Where will
I will read the
Okay.
translation of the verse again.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay. All different varieties of Atmarama, those who take pleasure in Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, although freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls. Lord, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained this Atmarama shloka very vividly before his chief devotee, Srila Sanatana Goswami. He points out 11 factors in the shloka, namely, which is actually the 11 words in that shloka. Atmarama, number 2, Munayaha, free, Nirgrantha, 4, Api, 5, Cha, 6, Urukrama, 7, Kurvanti, 8, Ahaitim, 9, Bhaktim, 10, Itam Bhuta Gunaha, and 11, Harihi. According to the Vishwa Prakasha Sanskrit dictionary, there are 7 synonyms for the word Atmarama, which are as follows. Brahman, the absolute truth. Second, body. Third, mind. Fourth, endeavor. Fifth, endurance. And sixth, intelligence. And seventh, personal habits. The word Munneha refers to, firstly, those who are thoughtful. Second, those who are grave and silent. Third, ascetics. Fourth, the persistent. Fifth, the mendicant. Sixth, sages. And seventh, the saints. The word Nirgrantha conveys those ideas. One who is liberated from nations. Second, one who has no connection with scriptural injunction. That is, who is freed from obligation of the rules and regulations mentioned in the revealed scriptures like ethics, Vedas, philosophy, psychology, and metaphysics. In other words, the fools, illiterate urchins who have no connection with regulatory principles. And free, a capitalist, and also 4, one who is penniless. According to the Shabdakosha dictionary, the affix ni, I have to follow it on the book. If I try to follow that, it's difficult for me. Okay. According to the Shabdakosha dictionary, the affix ni is used in the sense of 1, a certainty, 2, counting, 3, building, and 4, forbiddance. And the word grantha is used in the sense of wealth, theories, vocabulary, etc. The word urukrama means the one whose activities are glorious. Krama means step. With word urukrama specifically indicates the Lord's incarnation as Vamana, who covered the whole universe by immeasurable steps. Lord Vishnu is powerful and his activities are so glorious that he has created the spiritual world by his internal potency and the material world by his external potency. By his all-pervading features, he is everywhere present in the supreme truth. And in his personal feature, he is always present in his transcendental abode of Goloka Vrindavan, where he displays his transcendental pastimes in all variegatedness. His activities cannot be compared to anyone else, and therefore the word Urukrama is just applicable to him. According to Sanskrit verbal arrangement, Kurvanti refers to doing things for someone else. Therefore, it means that the Atmaramas render devotional service unto the Lord, not for personal interest, but for the pleasure of the Lord. Urukrama. Hetu means causal. There are many causes for one's sense satisfaction, and they can be chiefly classified as material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation, which are generally desired by progressive persons. As far as material enjoyments are concerned, they are innumerable, and the materialists are eager to increase them more and more because they are under the illusory energy. There is no end to the list of material enjoyments, nor can anyone in the material universe have all of them. As far as the mystic powers are concerned, there are 8 in all, such as to become the minutest in form, to become weightless, to have anything one desires, to lord it over material nature, to control other living beings, to throw earthly globes in outer space, etc. These mystic powers are mentioned in the Bhagavatam. The forms of liberation are 5 in number. Therefore, the unalloyed devotion means service to the Lord without desire of the above-mentioned personal benefits. And the powerful personality of God as Krishna can be fully satisfied by such unalloyed devotees free from all sorts of desires for personal benefit. Unalloyed devotional service of the Lord progresses in different stages. Practice of devotional service in the material field is of 81 different qualities, and above such qualities is the transcendental practice of devotional service, which is one and is called sadhana bhakti. When unalloyed practice of sadhana bhakti is matured into transcendental love for the Lord, the transcendental loving service of the Lord gradually developing into 9 progressive stages of loving service under the headings of attachment, love, affection, feelings, affinity, adherence, following, ecstasy, and intense feeling of separation. The attachment of an inactive devotee develops up to the stage of transcendental love of God. Attachment of an active servitor develops up to the stage of adherence, and that for a friendly devotee develops up to the stage of following. And the same is also the case for parental devotees. Devotees in conjugal love develop ecstasy up to the stage of intense feeling of separation. These are some of the features of unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. According to Hari Bhakti Sudhodaya, the import of the word Itambhuta is complete bliss. Transcendental bliss in the realization of impersonal Brahman becomes comparable to the scanty water contained in the pit made by cow's hoof. It is nothing compared with the ocean of bliss or the vision of the personality of Godhead. The personal form of Lord Sri Krishna is so attractive that it comprehends all attraction, all bliss, and all tastes, passes. These attractions are so strong that no one wants to exchange them for material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation. There is no need for logical arguments in support of this statement, but out of one's own nature, one becomes attracted by the qualities of Lord Sri Krishna. We must know for certain that the qualities of the Lord have nothing to do with mundane qualities. All of them are full of bliss, knowledge, and eternity. There are innumerable qualities of the Lord, and one is attracted by one quality while another is attracted by another. Great sages such as the 4 bachelor devotees, Shanaka, Sanatan, Sanandan, and Sanat Kumar, were attracted by the fragrance of flowers or tulsi leaves, anointed with the purple sandalwood offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, Shukadeva Goswami was attracted by the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Shukadeva Goswami was already situated in the liberated stage, and yet he was attracted by the pastimes of the Lord. This proves that the quality of his pastime has nothing to do with material affinity. Similarly, the young cowherd damsels were attracted by the bodily features of the Lord, and Rukmini was attracted by hearing about the glories of the Lord. Lord Krishna attracts even the mind of the goddess of fortune. He attracts, in special cases, the minds of all young girls. He attracts the mind of the elderly ladies by parental affection. He attracts the minds of the males in the humors of servitude and friendship. The word Hari conveys various meanings, but the chief import of the word is that he, the Lord, vanquishes everything inauspicious and takes away the mind of the devotee by awarding to transcendental love. So by remembering the Lord in acute distress, one can be free from all varieties of miseries and anxieties. Gradually, the Lord vanquishes all obstacles on the path of devotional service to the pure devotee. And the result of 9 devotional activities, such as hearing and chanting, becomes manifest. By his personal features and transcendental attributes, the Lord attracts all psychological activities of a pure devotee. Such is the attractive power of Lord Krishna. The attraction is so powerful that a pure devotee never hankers for any one of the four principles of the religion. These are the attractive features of the transcendental attributes of the Lord. And adding to this and the word api and cha, one can increase the imports unlimitedly. According to Sanskrit grammar, there are 7 synonyms for the word api. And by interpreting each and every word of this shloka, one can see unlimited numbers of transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna that attracts the mind of the pure devotee. 3.5, close to three full pages of purport. So we read the translation again. All transcendental varieties of Atma-Ramas, those who take pleasure in Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed work of service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls. Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjanashlakya Chakshuramitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapatantikam. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Adwaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Shikor Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Grantaraja Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Atma
Thank you,
Rama
Prabhu.
verse.
I will just introduce you a bit to the audience. So, my dear
Yes,
devotees, we are very pleased to have His Grace Adwaita Krishna Prabhu from Mauritius, originally, the disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He's a senior devotee in the ISKCON world, a leader. He travels around the world to give lectures, seminars, and teaching in the Vedic scripture. So, we are pleased to have His Grace with us today, and we request everybody to pay close attention to his lecture. Thank you very much. Prabhu, please continue.
I kind of remembered seeing some of the devotees I know from West Africa there. Ganga Prabhu, of course, I know. I think I saw my old friend Sahadev Prabhu was there.
Yes.
Or maybe, yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so nice of you to, yeah, Jai Haribol, Sahadev Prabhu. It's nice. Okay, great. Some of you I know, some of you I might have forgotten. It's been such a long time. But anyway, we meet together on this platform of Krishna Bhakti, Krishna consciousness, or Krishna Katha. So in Madhya Lila chapter 24, very, very long chapter, Lord Chaitanya explained this Atmarama verse upon the request of Sanatana Goswami. And he starts by saying that Sanatana Goswami said to Lord Chaitanya, he said, you explained the Atmarama verse 18 different times to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. That was at the time of the conversion of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he was challenged. He had challenged Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had to go and listen to his rendition of Vedanta Sutra. And then he listened for a long period of time, 7 days, without actually asking a question. And then followed some discussions about different topics. And Lord Chaitanya actually told him that his explanation was unclear. So the main link to our understanding to the Atmarama verse, even though Lord Chaitanya has explained it so many different ways, for us, we are following the Bhagavad Sampradaya from our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya angle, is that actually the comparison of a transcendentalist who is a Brahmavadi and actually a devotee of Krishna who is actually attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by way of his pastimes and his qualities. And if you see the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and how he explained the Atmarama verse to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, then he sat down with Sanatana Goswami and explained in detail, explaining so many ways each of these 11 words, some of them 7 different meanings, some of them 10 different meanings, and so on and so forth, which amounted to him giving an explanations of the Atmarama verse in 61 different ways, which I feel unless you are a Shrutidhar, you will remember all these different explanations. Well, I can hardly. So the essential point to take out from this verse, in my humble understanding, is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is all attractive. And there are different categories of people who approach him. Not just the liberated category, which in this case would be the liberated yogi or the liberated Brahmavadi, the person who is completely in Brahman, not the Mayavadi, Brahmavadi, and also those who have a certain affection for material elements, but also interested in Krishna consciousness, also interested in actually developing a relationship with Krishna, for some reason not to be able to get something spiritual, but something material. And the Bhagavad Gita explains that 4 categories of people who approach him. And after that explanation, actually Krishna says that all these devotees who approach him are all very magnanimous. It happens that some people will approach Krishna because of a need for some kind of a material relief, a relief from material pains and pangs of material nature, or desire for something material to be able to enhance the material, the status of life. Others will also inquire about the wonderful aspects of Krishna and his pastimes, and therefore they will develop some kind of an inquisitive nature. But then there is this next category. Jai Maharaj, Hare Krishna. So then there's this next category of devotee who actually surrenders to Krishna, and Krishna actually makes a special verse to explain that category of devotee. And he says, Tesham Gyani Nitya Yukta Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate Priyahi Gyaninam Tyartham Am Sachamama Priya. Of these, the one who is in full knowledge and is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I'm very dear to him and is dear to me. So this is, I think, 7th chapter, text 17, after he explains the 2 categories of people, those who surrender and those who don't surrender. He says that the Jnani, out of those who surrender, the Jnani is actually the most dear to him. Now, for the simple reason, as we try to understand the meaning of Jnani in this connection, is one who has knowledge that he is not the body, one who has knowledge that he is not this material sheath. Therefore, he is not attached to any of the material trappings that the material nature offers to us. So he has that understanding of his existence as a spirit soul. He understands that I am, Aham Brahmasmi, I'm spirit. And therefore, I have no attachment. I need not have any attachment to this material world. That's technically the meaning of a Jnani. From our explanations of Bhagavad Gita, from our acharyas and from senior devotees who's been teaching this for years, we can go into the detailed analysis of all this, but it will serve another purpose. So this transcendental, the transcendence can be understood in 3 different stages. Vadanti tat tattvavidas, famous verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattam adgyanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti sabdyate. It can be understood in 3 stages. Transcendental truth, one aspect of it is actually that it's Brahman. The second aspect of it is Paramatma, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, and Bhagavan iti sabdyate. So there are some beautiful examples in our scripture, and Prabhupada in the last part of this purport come to this point. And he explains about the Chatushana, the senior most personalities in this universe, the Manasaputra, the mind-born sons of Lord Brahma, who actually decided that they're going to stifle their growth and keep the growth of their body and keep themselves to about 5 years old, so that the attraction for enjoying the material world doesn't come and supplant the desire to serve Krishna, or to actually, not to serve Krishna at this point, but to actually be situated on the Brahman platform. So they decided that if they don't let the body grow, and they can actually they already understood that they are not the body, and they situated on the Brahman platform, they decided that it's the best thing for them, so that they don't become attached. They don't become attached to material culture, to material life. The same was from Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami also, he didn't want to have anything to do with his father Vyasadeva and his mother Bhattika. Didn't want anything to do with them. So much so that he avoided being pushed out of the womb, because then his senses will be bombarded by the Vishaya Sagara, the ocean of material objects and sensory objects for which he will have to interact with. So he thought, I'll stay away from all this. So he had incredible amount of understanding of he had full understanding of his being a transcendental person, being a Brahman, being Brahman. So he didn't want that. So he didn't want to actually take birth in a way. He wanted to stay in his mother's womb. And then he came out quite late. And then also the Chatushana didn't want. Then the idea was also the Navyogendras. The Navyogendras were also, they met Lord Brahma, and they were actually impersonal philosophers. And they had full knowledge of their impersonal identity of being Brahman. So what distinguishes these personalities from us devotees, or devotees of Krishna? Devotees of Krishna, they have a relationship with the Supreme Lord. And these persons, they don't have a relationship except that they have the understanding that they're Brahman. So to actually jump from being a Brahmavadi, or to being on the realization that we're Brahman, and to actually becoming a devotee of Krishna, servant of the servant, it requires being connected to the guna. It requires being attracted by the guna. It requires being attracted to some of these transcendental qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's what actually tips the balance. That's what actually changed these personalities. Let's go back and see the example of Sanat Kumar, the Chatushana, the 4 sons of Lord Brahma. Actually, they were fully absorbed in transcendence, but not attracted to any feature of Narayan or any feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But as they were going up their way towards meeting Narayan, the flavor or the gandha, the smell of the beautiful tulsi leaves. Sometimes you think when you have tulsi in your garden, well, you don't get such a flavor of tulsi because it has a very faint, small flavor. But there must be some incredible, powerful tulsis in Vaikuntha planet, in the lok where Lord Vishnu lives, that fragrance was so powerful. And it was mixed with sandalwood. Generally, what devotees do is sometimes they take tulsi leaves and then they make some sandalwood paste, and they take the tulsi leaf and then they offer it to the Supreme Lord's lotus feet, or the deity's lotus feet. It is said in the Bhakti Shastras that actually if you offer Krishna a tulsi leaf and you stick it to his lotus feet with chandan, sandalwood paste, actually Krishna will never let you go far away from his lotus feet. So this is one interesting side point. So then the smell of that sandalwood paste mixed with stuck to the lotus feet of Lord Narayan actually drifted into the nostrils of these pure souls. And something wonderful happened. Is they become agitated. They thought that they're completely satisfied. But what actually agitated them was the quality of that smell the quality of that incredible sensory, but transcendental sensory quality that actually agitated their senses and therefore agitated their mind. In a normal sense, many of us also have had that kind of experience in a small way. Many of you can go back to the first day you went to the temple, or the first time you heard the holy name, or the first time you saw the deity, or the first time you heard the class, or you went to the temple and you didn't even know what you're looking at, but you're looking at the altar, or you're looking at, Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, or something, or you were given a piece, a morsel of prasadam, and it created such an incredible taste, an incredible rasa in you, that almost that feeling never goes away. I mean, I had that feeling, and if you ask many devotees, they had that feeling. So it is like the introduction of Krishna into our lives through his qualities. Krishna introduces himself into our lives by his qualities. He is far away, in a sense. He's everywhere, but he's still far away in his personal darshan, in his personal availability to us. But then he directs some of his qualities to come to our senses and enliven us, and to have a feeling that there's something wonderful here. And I've asked many devotees, and each time I like this topic a bit. When you ask the devotees, and he said, "What is it that you made?" One of the very senior devotees in our movement here asked him once. He said, "Prabhupada disciple." I said, "What made you change?" He said, "I was in Australia, and I like the smell of the incense, and I love the halwa. So every Sunday I would go." And I asked one other friend of mine, Prabhupada disciple also, is a good singer, and he was in New York, and he was 16-year-old. Some of you may know him, called Shasti Prabhu. He's my very good friend. And he was only 16-year-old, and he was kind of a, yogi practicing. He was very interested in being a little bit aloof from the others. So he was keeping some kind of a fast, and he was going in the subway. And then he was given, in those days, Prabhupada devotees, they used to make one special laddu called laglu, which had some varieties of nuts mixed together and bound together in a bowl with honey. And then he was given this one thing, and then he took it because he was fasting and he was a vegetarian. So like a small version of the Chatushana, so to speak. And he said, I felt a complete transformation in my system. I felt a complete transformation. So how I felt was incredible. And he said, then I went almost crazy in the subway, and I was going around looking for this devotee who had disappeared by the time he had given me this. So he said, I was looking for him everywhere. I was almost gone nuts, crazy. And he said, then finally I found a laglu throne, on the footpath, on the subway. He said, I picked it up and I took it. And I said, for the next few days, I carried on looking for where I can find this person who gave me this. So what is this? What is this transformation? This is a transformation by a certain quality that Krishna has put in some of the vastu, in some of the items, so we can actually get in touch with him. So this guna, this quality that Krishna has, he can put it in anything, and he can actually touch his devotees, and he can pick his devotees from anywhere, right? And that flavor, it never leaves you. When you think about it, it never leaves you. So this happened to the Chatushana, to the four sons of Manasaputra, the sons of Brahmaji, and actually they completely transformed. It also happened to Sukadeva Goswami. So the smell did the transformation for the four Kumaras. What did the transformation for Sukadeva Goswami? He didn't even care to hear his father's plea. He didn't care to hear his mother's plea. He came out and he just ran into the forest. And it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, you read that Vyasadeva was very he was very distraught. He thought, I have a son, and I wanting so much that he actually studies the Vedic literatures with me, and he takes on what I am teaching, what I'm writing, and he just gave a loud shout. But then only the forest and the trees echoed back to him. His son made as if he didn't exist. So Shukadeva Goswami left. But then what did Vyasadeva do? You know the story. You probably know the story. Vyasadeva actually, he sent two of his disciples, and he armed to his disciples with two beautiful verses. One of them describing beautiful Rupa Madhuri, the beautiful verse that describes the beauty of Krishna. It's in the 10th chapter, 10th canto, chapter 21 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And another verse describing the heart of Krishna, the merciful, the kind heart of Krishna, which is in the 3rd canto, 2nd chapter. So he said to his disciples, he said, you go and wherever he is sitting, you pretend that you know how much to do with him, but you can actually recite these two verses. And they went on and they recited these verses. This verse for me has a very special meaning, especially the verse that describes this beautiful, uh, uh, the wonderful beauty of Krishna. He's dressed up as a dancer. It has a very interesting meaning for me because just a personal thing as you, my friends here. It was in 1979 and I had just come in contact with the devotees of Krishna. And one Gaudiya Math sannyasi was visiting Mauritius and he happened to come by our house. And my father gave him a small place to live and he had Gaur Gadadhar DT and he was doing this Jaya Jaya Gora Chande Gora Gadadhari Arati Ko Sobha, slightly different arti. And he was he was a sannyasi. He was a disciple of one of Srila Prabhupada God brothers. We were just visiting Mauritius like this, and we happened to meet him. And my father used to always host, saintly people if he could. So we had a small house. So he gave him a room, and this person was always doing his kirtan, his arti, and he was chanting. And he would give him some grains and fruits and vegetables, and he would cook something for himself, and he offered to his deities. So he asked my father. He said, "Why do we do some kind of a satsang in the house? And maybe we get some village people to come." So then I remember very clearly, he was speaking about Gauranga and Lord Chaitanya because they're Gaudiya Vaishnava. And he went on to explain that beautiful verse, which never left me. It's interesting. And he explains that verse that describes how Krishna is wearing a peacock feather ornament upon his head with blue karnika flowers, lily flowers on his ear, a yellow garment as bright as gold, and his Vajanti Mala, garland made of 5 different wonderful flowers in Braj. And Lord Krishna has exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers. And he entered the forest of Vrindavan, beautifying it with the marks of his footprints. This is a description of the verse. And he says, he filled the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, and the cowherd boys sang his glories. So what happened is this. So he explained this verse. He says, Badha Pidam Natavaravapu Karanayo Karnikaram Bibradvasa Kanaka Kapisham Vajayanti Chamalam Randran Venu Radhara Sudhaya Apurayan Gopa Vrindair Vrindaranyam Sapadaраmanam Pravishada Gita Kirti, which is the translation I explained. So Krishna is dressed as Natavara Vapu. He's dressed as one of the most beautiful dancers. So you know what, like in Vedic culture, when a dancer is dressed up, he's quite dramatic. You see sometimes Bharatanatyam or Kathak dancers in India. How are they dressed? Right? They have exquisite way of tying their dhoti, exquisite way of tying their shash, and they have a beautiful way of doing the upper garment. And then they have a garland which is very neatly, done, and it is symmetrically placed. And then all his earrings and all his beautiful ornaments. And then on top of that, he has beautiful kanika flowers, which are blue lotus, called saroja, or blue lilies, and it is stuck in his ear. And then he is just one thing. I think the kind of images are kind of distracting for me. So should I change the view for me? Maybe everyone can just, I don't know. Okay, fine. Okay, Hare Krishna. So then he was, when Krishna entered the forest of Vrindavan dressed as Natavara his body completely transformed as a dancer. And the dance is very dramatic, like I'm explaining. And he has his beautiful peacock feather ornament on his head, Badha Pidam, right? And his blue kanika flowers in his ear. And his yellow garment is as brilliant as gold. And his Vajanti Mala hanging down his neck. And in his shash, he has his flute stuck in. And he's beautifying as he's walking into these beautiful hallowed grounds of the Braj of Vrindavan. His beautiful footprints are left. And what he does is take up his flute and he says, Randhran Venu Radhaya Sudhaya Apurayan Gopavindari. He filled his flutes with his beautiful melody. And then the cowherd boys are singing his glories. So this is a verse that is being recited by one of the disciples, one of the servants of Vyasadeva. And Shukadeva Goswami, he hears this. He's completely satisfied. Just understand that he is Tesham Gyani Nityukta. He is a Gyani. He's completely satisfied. He's Atmarama. This is explanation. He's Atmarama. He's completely self-satisfied. His mind is self-satisfied. He's happy in his soul. He has no other issues to deal with. He didn't even have to bother with his father or his mother. He just left. And then he's completely agitated by hearing this beautiful transcendental explanation of this personality whom he has no knowledge of. He doesn't know. Because you can only know Krishna when you're introduced by his devotees. He's taken birth in the household of Vyasadeva, but he's left. So how does he get to know? How does he actually get to know? He doesn't have any understanding of Krishna. But then suddenly this description of this incredible personality is thrown in front of him. And is empty as the holes of his ear. What happens to him? Any idea? He becomes agitated. He thought, I'm peaceful. He thought, I'm okay. I'm doing good here. But he actually becomes agitated. He becomes disturbed not in a material sense, but he thinks, who is this person? And then and then he inquires. And then this second person, then he goes on to describe, he said, this is a beautiful person. I'd like to know him. I'd like to know who he is. His incredible description, and his imagination is very fertile, and it enters his heart, and he becomes completely transformed. In his full Brahman realization is now not enough. And then the second verse enters his ear. And the second verse goes, Ahobakiyam sthana kala kutam jigamshaya ayayadapya sadvi lebe gatim dhatri uchitam. He said, Tatonyam kamba dayalum sharanam brajema. The second verse describes not Krishna's beauty, but Krishna's heart. And he says that person who, when he was given the poison by Dhatri, by someone who is a nurse, who is a mother, who took the position of a mother. Can you imagine now being given poison by your own mother? Of course, this happened to Prahlad Maharaj when Hiranyakashipu had lost in every way. He asked Kayadu, he said, please make some sweet rice and put poison and give to your son. Now, pretty incredible, pretty unheard of. But here, the description is of Putana, who actually had smeared poison in her breast and giving in terms of his affection to Krishna, but actually wanting to kill him. She had an evil sort of intention, but Krishna did not see his intention. What did Krishna do? Krishna actually saw that she was giving him milk. And he said, what did he do? He said, Lebe gatim dhatri uchitam. He says, Krishna gave him the position of mother in the spiritual world. Dhatri, support, mother. So then the transformation of Sukadeva Goswami had begun by hearing these two wonderful qualities of Krishna. First, his Rupa Madhuri, his beautiful description of his incredible beauty. Vardha Piran, Natabadavapu, 10th canto, chapter 21, verse 5. And then this third canto, second chapter, text 23, describes the absolute merciful heart of Sri Krishna. He was transformed. He was thinking, well, it's not all that I have here. What I have here is not enough. What I have here is great. I'm not in any way attracted to anything that will disturb my mind, but this is incredible. So you see the guna. So the Atmarama, like Shukadeva Goswami, hears these wonderful gunas of Krishna, and then he says, hey, where do you get these? He said, well, from someone, your father. And he said, there's 18,000 more of these verses if you want to follow us. So he actually followed them back home, and then he studied Srimad Bhagavatam, 18,000 verses, or in whatever form. I have no clear information that at this point Vyasadeva had written. Yeah, he must have written the 18,000 verses because Shukadeva Goswami learned from him. And Shuddha Goswami, as a Puranik, he memorized all the 18,000 verses. So then he was given that wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam, the beautiful story of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which actually gave us Sukadeva Goswami. So the Navayogendras also, they met Lord Brahma and they were completely transformed. And Lord Brahma, actually, they were actually philosophers in the 11th canto, this explanation goes. But there's also another beautiful story, the beautiful story of Rukmini Devi, who had been hearing about the Supreme Lord from Dwarka in this case, not Brajavasin Krishna, but Dwarkavasin Sri Krishna, Dwarkadish. And he was hearing that this princely personality who had so many palaces and so many wonderful glories of him, of his activities were reaching the ear of Rukmini Devi in Maharashtra. And Rukmini Devi had, and Rukmi, his brother, had arranged for him to marry Shishupal, and Shishupal was envious of Lord Sri Krishna. She had given his heart by just hearing the qualities of Krishna. And that description of Rukmini's attraction to Lord Krishna, Sutva Gunan Bhuvana Sundara Sindvatam Ye, that beautiful poem, that love letter that was written by Rukmini Devi to Sri Krishna, describing these 8 verses, his attraction and how he's given his heart to Sri Krishna. And she had written these verses in this love letter, one of the first love letters ever to be written in the annals of this creation. Beautiful love letter by a great personality, Lakshmi Devi herself, to Krishna. And Krishna received this letter when he was fighting with Jarasandha in his penultimate or his last fight with him. And he left the battlefield. He left the battlefield just to go and save Rukmini Devi, who gave him this beautiful letter. So when he left the battlefield, he became known as Ranchor, one who runs away from the battlefield. He didn't run away, he was running after Rukmini Devi. He was not running away from this Jarasan, that he was attracted. And Rukmini Devi, a description of him was also attracting him. And he almost felt like an obligation to go to Rukmini Devi, who was completely attached to him by hearing his glories. Then you have also these beautiful explanations of the Dvijapatnis in Braj, who were also attracted to him because they were hearing constantly his glories in Vrindavan. So this guna, these pastimes, these qualities of Krishna, and they were actually Pakka Brahmanas. And the Brahmana Patnis, there were a certain caste of devotees in Braj who were always performing all the different rituals. the same group of devotees who were organizing this Govardhan Puja, so Indra Puja in Braj, and they were organizing this wonderful yajna regularly at their home, and they were cooking for Lord Vishnu. And Krishna on that day they had gone to Talavan, and they had killed these demons, and everything was uneatable. They were thinking they were going to eat tal fruits, but that didn't happen, and they were hungry. So then what happened? They were complaining to Krishna and Balaram. The boys, the cowherd boys, were complaining. He said, "We thought we were going to have a nice picnic, but we haven't eaten, and it's getting late." So Krishna said to some of his friends, he said, "Go there to this Brahmana's house, and they're making arrangement for their puja. So please ask them nicely for some eatables." And Prabhupada explains that, Krishna was a Vaishya, and Vaishyas have to give donations. They cannot accept donations, and they cannot accept charity. They have to give. But sometimes he said, Kshatriyas accept some donations in terms of taxes, or they can accept something. So he said to mention the name of Balaram. Balaram was born of Vasudev, so he was more Kshatriya. And Krishna was a Vaishya. So he said, mention Balaram's name, and just said, I'm accompanying him, and we were all hungry. So they went to the house of these brahmanas in Braj, and actually they were, what happened? They were refused to be given some bhoga, something to eat. So they came back to Krishna complaining, "Oh, we're hungry," and they refused. He said, "Okay, go from the back door." He said, "Go to the Brahmana Patnis." Again, the same thing. The Brahmana Patnis realized they had heard about Krishna, and their love and their desire for wanting to know Krishna had been awakened when they heard his name again. Oh, he's in the neighborhood. And what they did is they packed up everything that was meant for the worship of Lord Vishnu, put it in different thalis and different, containers that they use in Braj, put it on their head, and they went. They made a queue to go to see Krishna and to feed Krishna and Balaram. And the Brahmanas, by the time they realized what was happening, they had gone quite far ahead. And what has happened then is they've gone quite far ahead. And then Krishna was being so kind, and Krishna knew that they're going to come because they've been hearing the pastimes of Krishna, they've been hearing the qualities of Krishna, and now they wanted to have darshan of him. So what happened? They thought, okay, if we go and see Krishna, he's going to actually. So they were karma kandi, so to speak. They were attached to fruitive activities. So in the Atmarama verse also, even though they were satisfied in being in the Varnashram, they were actually also attracted to seeing Krishna. So and Krishna had made a wonderful presentation to them. Same way again, but I cannot actually grab the verse, but it is still in the 23rd chapter. Yes, 23rd chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And there Krishna actually makes a very interesting posture for them, an interesting darshan for them. And Krishna did the same thing. He dressed himself very nicely, organized his whole sort of look, and then he was leaning one arm on one of his friends, and with the other left arm, he was actually twirling a beautiful lotus flower, and again a kanaka flower was tucked in his ear. He had arranged his shas and his flute, and he was standing there as a beautiful personality. And when these ladies were coming, they could actually see that Krishna had arranged to give them a fantastic darshan. And that caused a massive transformation in their heart. So much so that they thought, we give up our life to Krishna. And what did they do? They actually said to Krishna, he said, now you can eat to your satisfaction, my Lord. And actually Krishna fed all his friends, and then he served himself and Balaram. And then they had this wonderful feast. But then now it was time to go back. And they said, no, now what we've done is broken the rules of Varnashram. We've broken the rules of proper behavior. We come to see a boy and boys, in the forest, and our husband and our family will reject us. And Krishna says, no, but the thing is, you cannot actually obtain me by direct association. You cannot actually obtain me by direct association, by the process of hearing. And Krishna actually says this to them. He said, Shravanad Darshanad Dhyanam. He says, by hearing, Shravanad, Darshanad, by actually taking my darshan. And he says darshan in the deity form. He said, Shravanad darshanat dhyanam, mai bhavo anukirtanat. And he said, also in your mind, by listening to my kirtan, natatha shani sankarshena. He said, but you don't get me by just direct association, by personal sort of. He said, sometimes, with devotees, we like to always, when the guru and the great personalities come, we're always running after and we get some personal association. That's a different thing, because the sadhu sangha actually purifies us, helps us. But you see, in the case of Sri Krishna, Krishna was here with the Kauravas, but a lot of them actually didn't transform, because Krishna was taking this part in Mahabharata as being a normal relative of all the Pandavas and the Kauravas. But Pandavas, the relationship of Krishna was not coming in the fore. Sorry, the devotional understanding or the spiritual understanding of Krishna being the supreme personality of Godhead with the Pandavas were not coming in the fore, was not coming in the front. It was more his relationship with them as a relative was coming more in the front, because that was the arrangement of Krishna's energy, that this be like that. So, but in this case here, these devotees, they actually wanted to be with Krishna, and Krishna said, you cannot actually obtain me by close proximity, by being with me like that. And he said, no, tata sanikarshena pratiyata tato grinan. He said, no, but by actually getting a taste of wanting to be with me, by hearing my guna and my qualities. So he said, Shavanat Darshanat Dhyanam. He says, by remembering me, by hearing about me, by listening, Mai Bhavo Nukirtanat, by hearing about me. So Krishna actually gave this instruction in the 10th canto to them. So you see, by hearing the qualities and the guna and the names and the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we will develop the right attraction. We will develop the right attachment. Why? Because scientifically, this is a process. This is a process, and this process applies every single conversion. Even the conversion of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya was a wonderful Pandit. He was a great logician. He was a great grammarian. And he was teaching as a teacher in the Gurukul, in the Tola of Gopinath Acharya or some personality. I cannot remember the exact name. So he was, and his friends was Mukunda, and his friends was also Gadadhar. And they were saying, Lord Chaitanya is such a great teacher. He was such a great Pandit. He comes from this wonderful family. But if only you could be a devotee. Lord Chaitanya was behaving like he was a good teacher. He was a good student. When he was in school, he was a good student. He was smart. He was clever. He was good looking. He had these incredible attributes. But his transformation had not happened. He was just a grammarian. He was a logician. He was doing Nyay. He was doing Vyakaran. And Gadadhar Pandit and Mukunda, they were praying, oh, if only he could become a devotee. And he did. When did he? When he actually went to he went to Gaya, or he went to Allahabad, Prayagraj, and he actually went there and he met his spiritual master. So his transformation was complete. Again, meeting with the qualities of the Supreme Lord, meeting with some of the qualities that some other personalities have, whether it is prasadam, whether it is taste, whether it is smell, whether it is, but very, very, very rarely, actually we get this transformation by seeing. Haven't you heard? Haven't you seen? Haven't you all experienced it? I never hear so many so many examples as someone got transformed because they went to the temple and saw the deities. I mean, I may be wrong. Some of you may contribute to the discussions, but you always hear about someone getting this transformation by hearing, mostly by tasting, some of them by smelling, or some by getting this mental transformation by meeting someone who is interesting, like a devotee, or getting to hear from the devotee, or getting to see the devotee and getting to see the activities of the devotees. For example, Big Harinam. Okay, Kusha Prabhu is saying to me, we have lots of new devotees. Thank you very much for joining in. It's very encouraging for me. Gurudev asked me to actually continue my service. I had talked to Kavi Chandra Maharaj some years back and Damodar Maharaj only a week ago. So I don't know how am I going to be able to serve the devotees there, but I'm happy that you're coming to encourage me to do some little service. So thank you for joining in. So we are sharing whatever we've heard from my seniors. So hearing, taking prasadam, and engaging our senses actually transform us, these guna, these qualities. It transforms even the people, the transcendentalists who have no material attachments. Shukadev Goswami, Navyogendras, the Brahmana Patnis, uh, and the Sanat Kumars. So they actually get transformed by getting in touch with the transcendental qualities of Krishna. So isn't that why we are given the Srimad Bhagavatam? The Srimad Bhagavatam actually is a beautiful story of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees. Krishna's attribute, as Bhakta Vatsala is explained in the first canto, second canto, how his relationship with his devotees is there, and his relationship in a more rasika form, in a more rasa form, in the 10th canto is explained. But all this is only to come to the point of bringing us to the shelter of Krishna, because he has such wonderful qualities. So if people who are completely satisfied and happy in their life and experience this joy, transcendental bliss, itam bhuta guna, transcendental bliss, this is explained in this verse, they can transform, then what to speak of us? What to speak of us? We can actually be attracted to Krishna. I don't know how long we have, Kusha Prabhu. I've been going for an hour almost.
Yeah, you've gone 1 hour. Now you can take some questions from the audience.
Okay, so I think we will stop here. So, you know, the Jnani who gets attracted to Krishna, I always give this one example, that the Jnani, tesam Jnani nitya yukta eka bhaktir vishishyate priya Jnani nam tyartha ham sachamama priya, that the Jnani is the most dear when he approaches Krishna. It is like if you take a clear glass of water, if you take a glass, a clean water, and you drop a small speck of a color, which is red or yellow or green, it actually, you can see the effect of that speck of color, even if it is a pin drop color size. You can see the transformation in that clear, colorless water. It becomes green or it becomes yellow, depending color you. So the Jnani is like that. He's completely clean. He's completely clear. He's completely understanding that he's Brahmashmi, Aham Brahmashmi, I am spirit. But then you drop this color of Krishna into his heart, he actually changes. He becomes colored with the quality of Krishna. He becomes attracted by the quality of Krishna, just like the water becomes green or becomes yellow or becomes red. Just drop one because it's clean. But if you have a murky water in a glass, if you have murky water in a glass and you drop some color, you see some transformation, but you have to go really close, really deep to actually see the that's us in the material world. We have so many different inabilities, we have so many different attachments, we have so many different affinities, that when these beautiful qualities and affinity of Krishna comes into our heart, in our mind, it causes a little jolt. It gives us a little impetus to want to go and become a devotee of Krishna. But it's not quite the same transformation as a Jnani. So Krishna says, but the Jnani, he doesn't have any suffering. He doesn't have any of these desires and material impediments. But he attaches himself to me. And therefore, he is considered so dear to Krishna that Krishna says, I have nothing in my possession that I can offer him. And therefore, I offer myself, which Krishna does to Sukadeva Goswami. He does to the Chotushna. He even does to the Navyogendras. Krishna offers himself. So, what do we have to offer to Krishna? Krishna is attracting us even though we are unqualified. This is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya, he gives such incredible explanations on the chapter 24 of Madhya Lila. So many verses, he keeps on explaining this Atmarama verse. It will not do justice for me to go into that. He explains right from the beginning to all the verses of Krishna's rasa with his pure devotees in Vrindavan. I have no qualification to speak about it. So I spoke on what I feel I have some relationship with. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank
Jai.
you very much for that wonderful class. I will like people will ask questions, they will raise their hand, we will call them. I would like you to a bit, based on the paper, due to new devotees, elaborate a bit about the words. Munaya refers to 7 qualities. Those who are
Yes.
thoughtful of words, those who are grave and silent. What is that? The persistent, mendicant, sages, and saints.
Yes. Munaya, okay, comes from the root word, Sanskrit word muni. Muni means a sage. But Muni also means one who is thinking, who's a sage, who's thinking, he's using his mind, he's using his intelligence, he's thoughtful. And Muni also sometimes means that one who keeps mauna, one who is grave, one who is silent, doesn't speak unnecessarily. Number 2, I'm just reading Prabhupada's purport, and maybe I can elaborate on it a little bit. And then someone who is an ascetic. Someone who's an ascetic means that someone who is practicing some kind of a yoga, some kind of a asceticism, and he's practicing some strict rules of behavior. You know, he's living in a secluded place, like a hermit all by himself, and he is very self-controlled, a person like that, a munnaya. Or someone who's persistent in his goal, in achieving something. Or someone who's a mendicant, means someone who's actually given up being anyone in society. He's living simply. And a sage, means someone who has some intelligence, who has some knowledge, he's also considered to be a munnaya. Or saints, or saintly persons. So it is said that Atmaramascha munnaya. There are munnayas, there are munis who are actually in these 7 categories of personalities, who can also, who may be self-satisfied, who may be situated on the platform of transcendence by dint of their practice in the particular cases, one who is persistent, one who is thoughtful, one who has knowledge, one who is an ascetic, one who is a sage, or one who is a saintly person, or one like this. And these persons are actually not so much attached to the material trappings of life. They're actually a little bit aloof from all these things. And so there's a gradation here. There are different grades of munis. One who is simply persistent in his behavior, one who is simply mendicant or sage or a saintly person. All these different categories of personalities will be attracted to Krishna. And they may also form in the category of Atmarama, deriving some sense, some feeling of happiness, joy in their existence from being connected to some level of spirituality. So this is a description of Munnaha. You can actually read it there, Munnaya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Our next question is from Kingsley Mensa. Mensa, unmute yourself, please.
You go ahead.
It's coming. Yeah.
Hello, please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Please, my question is, I want to know the spiritual benefit of a person chanting Hare Krishna and the difference between when you are not chanting, but playing the music with your motion and following in by with your heart. The difference.
Okay. Well, to be able to chant, you have to hear. So what is the spiritual benefit? If you hear constantly the name of Krishna, it will create some purification in your heart. You will develop a little bit of a higher taste, and you will develop a taste for more spiritual activities if you're hearing already. Now, hearing is the beginning of spiritual life. So by hearing the holy name of Krishna, whether it is in tape or whether it is in some level of music, if it is coming into your ear, it will cause a little transformation. And the process of devotional service, as given by Prahlad Maharaj, the 9 processes of devotional service, it starts with hearing. So he says, Shravanam, which you're doing, you're hearing. Like even you're hearing these descriptions of these explanations of this verse. This is also kirtan. This is also hearing. So what does it do? It actually purifies your heart. It will give you a taste for devotional service if you carry on hearing on a regular basis, day in, day out, that at some point, you will want to know more, because it will give you a taste. It will make a transformation in your heart, and you will want to know more about why is this chanting actually change something in me. And then when you get that inquisitiveness to rise in your heart, then you will go and you will ask, you will inquire, then you will become inquisitive. And then when you will inquire, two things will happen. You will get an understanding of why this hearing transformed me, but you will also get the association of a devotee, which will be the transformational aspect. It is the association of the devotee. Now your association of the devotee is through the sound, but you get the physical association of a devotee who himself is carrying Krishna to some degree. Gadabrita, he's carrying Krishna in his heart. Then you get that association, it will cause a secondary level of transformation in your life. And then you will want to chant. You will want to chant the holy name. So then you go to the second process. Hearing, then Shravanam, which is hearing, then Kirtanam, you want to chant. And then you will develop some kind of a faith. Already there must be some faith or some attraction. So by hearing this message, by hearing this kirtan, you will develop this faith. And then when you develop this faith of hearing, it is explained in the in text 16, second chapter, Sususro Shatadhanasya Vasudevam Katham Ruchi Syanmahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirthani Sevayat. You will wanting to hear from the saintly persons. You will wanting to hear from more advanced people, whom when you see, you will see that there's a difference. That these guys, these devotees are different than me. So yeah, you started the process, you can carry on. You understand the difference? One will lead to the other, and you will progress towards making yourself more complete as a devotee. Hare Krishna.
One next question from Sahadev Prabhu. Sahadev Prabhu, kindly unmute.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
I was asking Damodar Maharaj, where are you? He said, he's in the US. Yeah. Oh, I said, he's gone to the land of honey and milk. Hare Krishna. Yes, Sahadev.
It's so nice to see you again after such a long time.
Well, I've grown older.
Yeah,
that's one thing for sure.
I'm growing older too, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Sahadev. Yes, go on.
Prabhu, my question.
Make some comments.
Yeah, my question is in regards to the different levels of realization of the Godhead. It's much easier for lots of people to accept that God is within everybody's heart. It's easier for people to understand that God is gigantic like the cosmos. But when it comes to God being a person, it's very difficult. So I would like you to shed a little bit more light on Krishna being the Godhead, and also the importance and the relevance of the deities on the altar. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yes. You see, understanding Krishna in the heart, and it's different than, okay, so someone is an educated person in terms of Vedic understanding, then his understanding of the Lord in the heart is slightly different because he has a very specific information. One of the chapters in the first canto, the Lord in the heart. He has a very, very specific understanding of the Lord in the heart. Now, when you think about the people in general, they have no information, but they have a general understanding that the Lord is in the heart. God is in the heart. But they have no specific information about it, except that they know that, the Lord is within my heart. Whether it is in the Christian religion, I don't know so much about the other Abrahamic religions, whether that is understanding. But even in the Vedic culture, people who have no direct knowledge of the Vedas or the Shastras, they have an understanding that Lord is in the heart, right? So in terms of them now accepting from the Lord being in their heart, which is what? Which is like a very rudimentary understanding that a yogi has. It is some kind of an understanding of Paramatma, Lord is in the heart, because there's only 3 stages of existence of transcendence, right? It is said, Vadanti tat Tattvavidas tattamadhyanamadvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyati. So when someone is saying the Lord is in my heart, he has some understanding as a yogi. I am a being and the Lord is within my heart. But then he may not have the guidance, or he may not have the tendency to want to know who is that Lord in the heart. And he may not even have any understanding or an education or an inclination to know how to approach the Lord in the heart, except maybe by some process of prayer, by some process of searching, or by process of when we are suffering in the material world, we go and pray to the Lord, and we have this pain, we have this impetus, or we have this pushing from within our soul or within our heart that God is telling you to do something, right? Everyone goes through those level of transformation. So from there to actually understanding that the Lord is a person, it's a very, very big change, because it is like from being a rudimentary sort of a yogi, or rudimentary level of understanding of having the Lord in your heart, to actually transforming yourself to becoming a personalist. It's a huge transformation. But there's one commonality. That transformation is only possible by the association of a sadhu. You see the Navyogendras? They were impersonalist philosophers, but they were yogis. They were yogis in the 11th canto. How did the transformation come? The transformation come because they had the association of Narad Muni, they had the association of Lord Shiva, they had the association of Brahma. That's a very high association. But nevertheless, you will see that the association is a common factor. So much so that if you see that verse, you see, sometimes we say that the process of devotional service starts with Adoshradha, Tata Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana, right? So you go Shraddha, so you have some faith. So for example, the Lord in the heart gives us some impetus, gives us some inclination that there is God. Then where does a transformation comes to actually having faith is actually by Sadhu Sangha, by the association of the devotees. Adoshradha Sadhu Sangha. So, but the first initial faith is just a rudimentary faith. It is a faith based on people going to the church. So I go to the church. God exists. Everyone says God exists. So God exists. People are going to God and getting some relief. So I go to the church and I go to the mosque, I go to the temple and I get some relief. What is that kind of faith? That kind of faith is Lokya Shraddha. It is popular faith. It is faith based on social convention, right? But that faith based on social convention becomes Shastriya Shraddha, become faith based on actual Shastric knowledge by the association of devotees. Maybe I answered half of your question.
No, you did answer. Thank you so much.
Right? It is only by the association of devotees. So Prabhupada said he created this movement so we get the association of devotees, and that is transformational. That is the only thing that's transformational, in my humble understanding. Anyone else asking questions?
Thank you, Prabhu. Any other question? Can you raise your hand up?
We had a few hands raised up, but I think my answer was too long. So
No, it's not too long.
Putting the digital hand is very tiring. Edward Amoa. Hare Krishna.
Who said mode? Okay, Edward, kindly unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, go on. Edward, we are hearing you. Go on.
We're hearing you.
Your voice is far away. We can't hear you. Your voice is too far. Okay, Prabhu, while we wait for him to connect, I have one more question on, according to the Sabdas Kosa dictionary, the affixni is used in the sense of certainty, counting, building, forbiddance, and the word grantor in the sense of wealth, thesis and vocabulary. In the number 4, it talk about forbiddance. What kind of forbiddance is he referring to? They do or they don't?
Where is personal habits, forbiddance, you say? 4?
Yes.
It's in the next page of the Bhagavatam there?
Yes, in the papers, yes.
Yes. Okay. According to the Shabdakosha dictionary, the affix ni. Ni means not in a way. Ni means nirgranta, ni. Okay. So is used in the sense of certainty sometimes because it is an affix. It comes in the beginning and it enhances the meaning. And it says counting, building, and forbiddance, and the word granta. Yeah, okay, forbiddance. Forbiddance means that it is part of the niyama. Niyama. Yama means what we have to do, and niyama means what we have to avoid. So, like for example, in yam niyama, like when we become a devotee of Krishna, we have yamas, which we have things we have to perform. And niyama is things we cannot perform. Like we have to chant, we have to wake up in the morning, we have to take a shower, we have to put tilak. These are yamas. And niyama means no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling. So these are forbidden things, right? This is what he's saying here. So in a sense, in a way that we can relate to, because we are practicing yam niyama. So niyama means things that are forbidden, ni. So that's where the word affix comes in to explain that, forbiddance. And the word granta is used in the sense of wealth, thesis, and vocabulary, etc. So in the terms of forbiddance, it is things that we should not be doing. That's what it means here. Okay, Edward, you ready?
We have another question on the chat room from Arnold. Arnold said, I'm new on this platform. My question is, what is the difference between Hare and Krishna?
Who is asking that question?
Arnold on the chat room, in chat room.
Okay. Oh, in the chat room, okay.
Difference
I'm
between
getting
Hare
reused
and Krishna.
to the, okay. So the question is again, repeat it. I'm going to see if I can read it here.
What is the difference between Hare and Krishna?
Hare. Okay, yeah, I see. I'm new on this platform. My question is, what is the difference between Hare and Krishna? Okay, this is related obviously to the mantra, Hare Krishna. So Hare is an address. We're addressing actually the energy of Krishna, just like we're saying Hare Krishna, or it is Hara Krishna. It's actually the spiritual energy of Krishna. We address the spiritual energy. It's like addressing the secretary, so to speak. And then we're addressing Krishna. But actually the full potency of Krishna is also in the word Hare. So when we actually chanting this combination of verses, when we're chanting the combination of words, it's actually from a verse that gives a very powerful invocation, a powerful prayer for us to obtain the mercy, or to request the mercy, or to request a service, or to request the association, to request purification from the Supreme Lord. So we may get into the understanding of Hare, which means an address, which also addresses the energy of the Supreme Lord, and Krishna meaning the most attractive personality in the universe, right? So the word combination Hare Krishna means that we are addressing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's actually the meaning of it. Okay, so the combination of words in this, and Rama mean the all-pleasing or the source of all pleasure. So when we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, the internal meaning, oh my Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of all attraction, the source of all pleasure, engage me in your service. That's the actual meaning of the mantra. And it has a very powerful effect because that mantra is actually an authorized mantra where Krishna has invested the Supreme Lord has invested all his energies into this combination of words, and it actually has a profound effect in purifying us. But that's the main take from this. You get into the technicality of it, it's not going to be so sweet or has much of an effect. So Shalika Prabhu.
Okay, we go to, I think Edward is ready.
Shalika.
Okay. We go to Edward, please. Edward, are you ready? Unmute yourself.
Edward, go on.
Hare Krishna.
Please, can you hear me?
Your voice is still very far away. I don't know why.
I can't hear you.
Can you write it down in the chat room, please?
Write it on the chat room.
Salika, please unmute yourself. Salika Prabhu.
Shalika Prabhu, my obeisances.
My respectful obeisances of Krishna Prabhupada.
Kind regards to you and your family
I'm so,
and everyone else.
grateful to see you today. After
You're
so
still in
many
Jos?
years. Yes, this is Jos. I'm still in Jos. And that's why I brought the Lordship as a background. Many of the devotees on the platform may not know that these deities you're seeing behind me are actually brought from India by His Grace, Adwaita Krishna Prabhu. He personally brought them from India. He personally taught me how to serve them. He personally served them the first. He did everything. The Jos Temple story cannot be complete without Prabhu's participation. He gave us so much that we can express it by words of mouth. So I just wanted to say appreciation to you. Thank you so much, Baba.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Yes, Maharaj, we have another question on the chat room from Ezekiel. Please, who is
Thank you,
Shiva?
Salika.
Ezekiel in the chat room is asking who is Shiva, Vishnu, and Krishna. Who should we offer our prayers to? So the chat room also.
Okay, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Vishnu is his expansion. And Lord Shiva is also his expansion, but he's a little bit mixed with material energy. So Lord Shiva is slightly lesser in status than Lord Vishnu, but Krishna is the source of both of them. But Krishna is the all-attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, you can worship Lord Vishnu or you can worship Lord Krishna. You will get slightly different result. Lord Vishnu, you will be worshiping him in awe and reverence, but he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You have more facilities and options in how you can worship Lord Krishna. And Lord Shiva is slightly different in the sense that if you worship Lord Shiva, he will give you material benefits. He's not so much in charge of or wanting to give you spiritual blessings or spiritual benedictions or spiritual favors. He's more inclined to actually testing you and offering you material benefits. So worship Lord Vishnu and worship Lord Krishna is recommended. And even Lord Shiva, he said, Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadiyamam samacharam. And he says, of all the different worships, worship of Lord Vishnu and also Krishna, so to speak, is considered the topmost. And even higher than the worship of Lord Vishnu or Krishna is the Diyamam Samacharam, worship of the devotees of Krishna or things related to Krishna, which makes us like if you worship the servant of Krishna, Krishna is more happy. Like Krishna wants to see us worship his devotees. So, and that recommendation is coming from Lord Shiva. So, thank you very much for this question. Yes.
We have another question in the chat room also from Pencil, Theo Pencil. Greetings. Please, my question is according to the Mahabharata, it said that the Lord visited our planet with chariots, Vimanas.
Yes. Yes, you see, everything that you have now is a mechanical and gross transformation of everything we always have had. So the facilities of travel we always have had. The facilities of creating beautiful palaces were always there. The facilities for having nice food were always there. And even different personalities had different powers and facilities for creating huge buildings, huge palaces, and also different implements, different machines, flying objects, that would actually defeat gravity. Those things were always there, always existed. What is happening is it's moving from the subtle to the gross. So before we had palaces created by mantra, before we had palaces created by tantra, and now we have palaces, houses, or aeroplanes created by yantra. So you have a degradation. You have this science of creating objects where it was all done by mantra, by perfection of sound, or by invocation, by combinations of words that would create an effect, which is mantra, or by tantra, which is procedures, and this is always there. And also by yantra. Yantra means object or machines. Like, for example, in our, I'm giving a general explanation because, right, in Mahabharata, this is there. Like, example is given of chariots that was in the Mahabharata war. And those chariots, they had incredible powers. And you will also see different people had different yogic powers. Or, for example, Arjuna would shoot an arrow, and the arrow would give a rain of what do you call fire, or they would give a blast of wind, or it would give 100 arrows will come out of his arrow and go and pierce different people. So these were all things that was made possible. And if you see, there's a parallel now. There's a parallel now. You can have a guided missile, heat-seeking guided missile, which is targeted on GPS to hit a target. Arjuna was doing this exactly the same thing. I'm explaining in general so you appreciate the point behind this. Arjuna was also doing the same thing. He would invoke a mantra, include the target's name in it, and the arrow will chase and it will kill that person. What's the difference? One is guided by mantra and one is guided by, nowadays, by yantra, which is machines. So yes, all these things were there, always there, but it is the level of subtlety and the level of perfection of mantras that was creating these things. Now we've lost all these, and now we're trying to create it by gross mechanical means. I hope you understand this general explanation.
Thank you, Prabhu. Wase Sapong is asking again, what's the difference between chanting Hare Krishna and chanting Om?
Not much difference, except the chanting of Om requires you to be a kind of a yogi and practice pranayam and practice different rules and regulations and create an yourself to have a perfect mind and a perfect body, so that by chanting Om you can actually get the perfection that you can get by chanting Hare Krishna. So Om is a sound representation of the Supreme Lord in very much the same way as Hare Krishna Mahamantra is. So in that technical way, there's no difference. But to chant Om and get the result that you can get by chanting Hare Krishna is slightly different.
Okay, the Edward has wrote down his question privately. He said, Hare Krishna, how do you convince someone that Krishna and the deity on the altar are not different, and also the Supreme Lord? Edward.
Well, you can explain to them, but it's only, you see, the deity, you can get you see, we take darshan. Okay, let me explain it to you. The deity form of Krishna is actually non-different than Krishna. And Krishna is manifest in the deity form for our benefit. But what does a deity form convey upon us? It conveys darshan. It conveyed upon us darshan. And we say we want to take darshan of the deities. But what does a darshan entails? Darshan means actually philosophical understanding. So by actually taking darshan, or coming in front and taking an audience with the deity, slowly, slowly we get to understand that the deity is non-different than Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Shastra, it is explained, Pratima nahatumhi shakshat vrajendra nandana. Oh, you're not an idol, you're not a murti, you're not an implement, an object, but you're directly the son of Maharaj Nanda. You're directly, someone being the son of a person is a person. So how do you get that understanding? By the process, like Krishna says to the Brahmana Patni, he says, Shravanat Darshanat Dhyanam. Mai bhavanu kirtanat. He said, you come, you hear. If you come in front of the deity to understand that it's actually the Supreme Personality of God, we're just looking, not possible. Krishna combined these two. He says, Shravanat, Darshanat, Dhyanam. By memorize, by looking, yes, but also by hearing, by understanding that this is Krishna. So that understanding is not complete without the process of hearing. If you go in front of the deity and try to meditate and think, okay, this is Krishna, it's not going to come to you. That understanding is not going to come, but by hearing. So Krishna says, you see, darshan is there, taking darshan of the deity, looking at the deity, but he says, Shavanat darshanat dhyanam. Mai bhavanu kirtanat, you understand me by hearing about me and by chanting about me. So we have this darshan, which means philosophical understanding. Oh, this is the Supreme Lord. I hope I made justice to your question. Go on, next.
Thank you, Prabhu, for your nice class. Anyone has any other question? We don't have any hand up. Or you can write it down on the chat room.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, we have one question on the chat room. It's from, what's his name? Theo Pencil. Since they came from distant space with chariots.
Where is it? It's up there?
You're on the chat room, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Does this mean that our gods are actually aliens from other star systems that visited our earthly planets?
Oh, that's a nice one.
Which the scientists call extraterrestrial. Since they come with the chariots. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I like that question. Our gods are aliens? No, they are aliens, but they're managing our universe. Yeah, they are actually not aliens who are threatening, not aliens who are coming to take over, but the aliens who are actually already taken over and they're managing it for our benefit. That's my answer, because they actually live in different planets. They actually live in the heavenly planets, the gods, which we call the demigods. They're actually living there. They have their abode there, but they have a way of managing the universal affairs of this creation. So they're not aliens who are threatening, they're aliens who are managing. Like someone is managing the wind, someone is managing the air, someone is managing the earth, someone is in charge of water, someone is in charge of rain. Indra is in charge of rain, Varuna is in charge of water. Prithvi is in, Bhumi is in charge of earth. So all these demigods, all these personalities are already managing. In a sense, yeah, they have a different abode, they have a different length, longevité, comme on dit, the length of life, how many years, the longevity is different, their body is different, they can live in different environment than we do, they can travel in space with different kinds of vimanas or implements, and they can exist in different environment. So yes, in a way, yeah, they are. If you see it from the point of view of, aliens as we know them in these sci-fi movies, they're a lot more advanced. And definitely they're not these guys with skinny long arms and skinny long legs and bulging eyes. No, they're not that. They're actually very beautiful personalities. So that misconception you can get out of that. But they live in different planets. They live in different universes, but they manage our universes too.
Yes, our next question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, did I say the right thing? He can comment. He's my friend from Sweden, from Finland. He's from Mauritius, but he lives in Finland.
Okay.
Finland.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Jai Shri Gurudev. All glories to the Prabhupada. Thank you very much for enlightening, describing very nice qualities of Lord Krishna. This verse, Atmarama verse, Sutta Goswami speaking, is conveying about Sukadev Goswami. This verse. What was the importance of this verse describing it? Is it trying to convey about Sukadev Goswami?
Yes, because it is in relationship, because you see right there, it's about, you see, if you see the few verses before, it is actually Shonaka Rishi talking about Sukadeva Goswami. Say you go back to verse number 8. He said, Sri Shonaka Akshuta Goswami. And what does the Akshuta Goswami? He says, Sri Shukadeva Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, and he was pleased with his own self. So why did he take the trouble to undergo the study of such a vast literature? That is text number 9. So you see the thread is there. The cluster of verses is actually dealing with Shukadeva Goswami. And Shukadeva Goswami's transformation from a Brahmavadi, from a Brahman realized person to actually becoming someone who is a Rasika Bhakta, who is a Rasika devotee, who becomes completely absorbed in understanding the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and so on and so forth. So this question is placed by Shonaka Rishi to Suta Goswami, and Suta Goswami, being a disciple of Shukadeva Goswami, he answers. And he answers. So who is speaking this verse? Shuka Uvacha, text 9, right? And then Suta Uvacha, text 10, which means that Suta Goswami is answering Shonaka Rishi. And they're talking about, Shonaka Rishi is asking Suta Goswami about his spiritual master, Sukadeva Goswami. So yes, this verse is related very much to Sukadeva Goswami. Nice point. Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu. Our next question is from.
Yeah, Prabhu is going to say something. Go on.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
No, it's all right. I'm happy. Very nicely said.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Year 4, please. Go on.
Yeah, okay. Good morning, greetings. Please, my question is, anytime I look at the Hare Krishna temples, I see two deities, which is a male and a female, which is being said it represents God. So my question is God has a wife, or God has two forms, a male and a female form?
Yeah, you're asking a very elevated question. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, God is one, and he can be male and he can be female if he wants. And if we say he can't be, then we are putting our own limitations on him. But God is a supreme enjoyer, and to be able to actually be and present himself as a supreme person, as a supreme enjoyer, he manifests different energies. And some energies may be male and some energies may be female. Like his energies for sustaining the universe, they are male. And his energies for giving pleasure to us and to him, they're female, considered female. So yes, God is both male and female.
Okay,
do you
thank
get
you.
me?
Yes,
Yeah?
thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
In the absence of no more questions, we ask all devotees to kindly unmute yourselves and let's chant Hare Krishna to Prabhu for coming for today's class. Kindly unmute yourselves.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Krishna, Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, 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 Hare Rama.
Hello, my name is Richard Osafo, born on 4th September 1975